Hey, what's going on, everyone? So guys, I have been looking forward to doing this session for a long time. So I've got a really good friend of mine. Many of you guys know him. So Mr. Steve Good. So Steve, say hi to everybody.
Hello, everybody. It's great to be here. I've been looking forward to this for a long time as well.
Have you?
Oh, yeah. I'm stoked about this.
Yeah, so you don't know this. It was before we dive in, I'll tell you. So growing up in my career in pest control is everyone talked about you.
Oh, God.
You know the stories, right?
Probably not. I knew the not good ones. I've never heard a good one.
So people always said for years, and obviously I've known quite a while now, but people always said for years, they're like, you've got to meet Steve Good. You've got to meet Steve Good. And I was like, who is Steve Good? And I kept hearing it. And obviously I've known you for a while now, and when I met you, I was like, I know why I should have met Steve. So,
hey man, just you work hard, you play hard, right?
100%.
Yeah.
So well, listen, man. So we can have as much fun as we want. We can talk about anything we want to do.
Let's do it.
So I want to start out really quick. So some of the people may not know you personally.
Yep.
And so like maybe at a high level, I mean, tell people who you are, what you're about, so they understand.
Sure, that'd be great. So I grew up professionally in this business. As a matter of fact, my first real job was at Terminex International, and I was literally an accounts receivable clerk.
Really?
Right? Yeah, accounts receivable clerk. I got promoted to run their national accounts administrative role, and then I ended up in marketing. I was doing this all while going to night school, and come to find out that I took one marketing course. I went to the University of Memphis. It was on a Saturday morning, so you can only imagine how many times I didn't make the course, and I ended up essentially building a career in marketing. So I left there and worked for a B2B security services company. Then I was a partner in an advertising agency, and then I was recruited back to Terminex in the mid-90s to run their marketing function. And then from there, I did a little bit of business development for them. I actually ran marketing for both Terminex and TruGreen for a while. And then the turning part for me and the funnest I ever had was when they asked me to take on the sales organization.
Yeah.
Short of what I'm doing now, it was the best job I ever had.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. So I think if I remember right, 1,500 sales reps?
1,500 sales reps.
Yeah, I mean, so like, I take a step back and I think about like, if I had to paint my dream corporate job, it would be running a 1,500 sales rep team.
It was great. It was fantastic. I mean, life experience was amazing. The things that we were able to do were great. We had a very high performing team. We worked hard and we produced for the organization.
Yeah.
Very successfully.
Yeah, it's amazing, So I think like the audience, like the people that like our community, they take a step back and they're like, oh wow, that's like so huge, right? Because the companies that watch our stuff is companies that are startups all the way 50 million, 70 million, and there's a lot of guys in between, and they can't even imagine it. So like, if you had to think about like, what does a day in the life of a head of sales for Terminex Rent-A-Kill look like back then?
Well, every day's a new day.
Yeah.
Every day had its challenges, but it also had routine about it. Like every single branch across the Terminex footprint, every single day started out in a sales room with people talking about what they did yesterday, talking about what they're going to do today, and talking about the rest of the week. And that was the discipline that took place every single day.
Yeah.
But then you had challenges. I mean, for example, pricing challenges. You would have sales reps that would just like totally go rogue and not ignore a rate card. And so that created opportunities to improve and things of that nature. But sales contests were always fun. For a while, probably I was in that role for about 4 years, four and a half years. And for 4.5 years, we would have the first weekend of every month, we would have what's called Managers in the Field Sales Blitz. And managers would get in the field, it would start on a Friday and it would run through Monday morning. And for those 4 years, every single weekend contest we had, we beat last year significantly. I mean,
really?
It was a streak of like 48 contests where we beat the previous year like by 10, 12, 14%.
So I think that this is like a very interesting topic. So, because it's a behavior that any company can do.
Yes.
So what does that look like? So managers in the field, what is that?
They're out there selling competitively with their outside sales professionals. They
Really?
can either go along with them or they can go their own way. They can have individual contests throughout the course of the Blitz. We would call it Managers in the Field Blitz. And it was a lot of fun. A lot of like literally we had the capability back then. I could literally look into, I had an iPad and we would update our sales across the country once an hour. So on a Saturday night, Hawaii's still selling at 10 o'clock at night.
Oh,
I'm sending updates to the field saying, Seth just had $2,000-$3,000 sales or whatever the case may be. We literally got it down to the individual. It was a lot of fun.
so did you player stack the individuals during that time frame?
Oh, yeah. It was so competitive.
So what was, and you may not, I don't know if you remember, but what would be the number one day of the number one sales guy? Like how big of a number was it?
So it could be like, and I'm talking residentially.
Yeah.
You could have someone like on a Saturday sell an encapsulation job for $5,000, a bait job for $2,000, and maybe a mosquito job for $1,000.
Yeah.
And do that twice. So you're talking about, $18,000, $20,000 day.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was very rewarding.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's so like if you were thinking about like an SMB company today, because I mean you've done consulting for years as well as like for an SMB company, would you suggest an owner go out with his team and go sell?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I mean, I went out and sold.
yeah.
I mean, probably 4 times a year, maybe 6 times a year, I would go into a branch and spend a day with a sales rep.
How'd you do?
I did pretty good.
Yeah.
I did pretty good. I mean, you can't lead it if you haven't done it, and if you haven't done it successfully, then you have no credibility.
So the question I always would ask is this: so when you're out there in the field, did you pull I'm the VP card, or did you go out there as a sales rep?
No, I was in a sales rep uniform. I was just another, and more times than not, I was a trainee. Steve's riding with me today because he's learning how to sell.
Because they had no idea.
They had no idea.
So we still today, and we don't put this on social media. Some people know we do it. So from time to time, I'll go out in the field with some of our clients, or even some of our friends that run local companies. I'll go sell. And I can tell you this, it is so much fun. Now, I think it's an unfair advantage though, and I'll be honest. Like, I think the unfair advantage is that like, I think about this. So about 3.5 months ago, one of my friends owns a FERT company here. And so I go, hey man, can I jump on the truck? He's like, of course. And I go, and he's like, you're gonna go pull hose? And I was like, no. I go, I'm gonna go sell for you. And he's like, what? And I think it's an unfair advantage because I think I was so excited, I was so fired up that like I was basically unstoppable. It wasn't like my day-to-day job. And I mean, I went out, I honestly, in all fairness, I crushed it. I think I sold 9 accounts that day.
That's awesome.
Cold.
Yeah,
cold.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was cool. But I think like if I had to do it day out and day in, like no matter how much like we can watch videos and talk about it, I don't think I could do it day in, day out,
No, it takes a different breed. But I mean, we had folks that were topping $2 million in annual sales. I mean, at the residential level.
That's great.
Right? And they would get very handsomely rewarded. Every year we would do what we call awards of excellence. And the best salespeople, the best service people, the best managers would go to a nice resort, be able to bring their family. And just like really treat them like kings and queens.
Yeah.
So the rewards for people that have that discipline, who subscribe to the accountability to be a good sales professional, there are nice rewards.
It's pretty amazing. So I studied the Terminix sales methodologies, and the big companies get really hit on it. I mean, they really take a beating in our industry, but the reality is these are great companies. I mean,
They are.
You look at all the big companies, these are great businesses. They've built billion-dollar organizations, and they get hated on, but the reality is these are good companies.
Well, they are, and the reality also is a lot of the people who have started and are running successful businesses today were trained by the big companies. There are a lot of folks out there that owe their success to the good, solid training that they may have gotten at Orkin or at Terminix or at Rent-A-Kill or at Ecolab or wherever.
Yeah, it was so in our business today, when we go build sales organizations, we specifically pick from a certain group of organizations for our commercial teams.
Right.
Some are within the industry. We love to recruit top tier Terminix guys. We love to recruit top tier Rent-A-Kill guys, especially since John Myers has been leading that sales focus. And and then obviously my background was Cintas, which is top sales training organization. And so when we build these teams, we go pick these guys out, and frankly, like they come trained, they come ready, they've got ambition, and it's part of the playbook that we build, and I'm sure you can see why.
Yeah, no, and it just clicked on me. Did you and John Myers actually work at Cintas at the same time?
Yes. So when I was there, I was in sales. So I reported to a guy named Chris Calloway, who reported to John Myers. And so that year, and everyone makes fun of me, so that year I was the #1 sales rep in the entire nation over all divisions. And he was our I guess, executive vice president at the time. And I didn't know him real well there. We communicated after he was in the pest business, and honestly, brilliant leader.
He is.
I don't know him super well. I know you know him real well.
Yeah.
Brilliant leader, ultra articulate. And honestly, I think at the time when I was at Cintas, the driver to the results was really him, and there was another guy named Dick Sertikowski who really drove these results, and it was incredible.
Well,
it was
at
incredible.
the end of the day, it's all about accountability.
Yep.
And leaders who hold their teams accountable are the most successful teams, right?
Yep.
That's not rocket science.
Yeah. And but I mean, you're seeing it today. You know, you're seeing it today, and but I learned a lot there, and it was great. And the sales methodologies that we learned way back then, we built for pest control. You know, that's what we did. But yeah, so kind of shifting a little bit. So I'm really curious. About head of marketing. So it's funny when I say it, you kind of light up.
Yeah.
But the part that I'm really curious about is like, from your perspective, is like, how did that change over the years?
Oh my God.
Because it's got to be incredible.
Night and day. I mean, when I first sat in the seat at Terminix, probably 60% of our budget was Yellow Pages. And we would literally go market to market and flip through Yellow Page directories to find out where we could upgrade, so on and so forth. These days, it would probably not even be 6%.
Yeah.
And then also a lot of huge, broadcast, national TV and stuff like that. Now it's all, as you well know, it's all digital.
Yeah.
And the digital climate, the digital horizon has changed so significantly that if you don't focus on it on a regular basis, you get lost.
You know, as you say Yellow Pages, I'm sure people are laughing, right?
Yeah.
The reality is I remember, because we did Yellow Pages, like I'm kind of getting that old. And the fact is I remember the game. The game was how many pages could you buy in the front so you get priority.
Exactly.
And you'd pay astronomical money.
Oh yeah.
And I can't imagine what a Yellow Page budget would have been back then. It's got to be insane.
Oh, I mean, it was like, I know at Terminix, it probably peaked around $30 million
for Yellow Pages.
For Yellow Pages, yeah. And so after a while, though, you start saying, as a consumer, how often did I look at the Yellow Pages? Never. And especially as, online became, more mainstream.
Yeah.
Then I was like the guy who said, we need a website. I mean, this is in the mid-90s. Terminix doesn't have a website? Are you kidding me? And so we built I think we were probably among the first that would actually provide pricing right there online, where all of our competition could see what we were priced at as well. But that type of transparency, we believed, was a consumer benefit.
So that progressed, and you said something really interesting a second ago, and I think our world doesn't realize this. So today's world, Terminix probably still buys Yellow Pages.
Not a lot,
but sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
So we see in some of the super tertiary markets, Yellow Pages is still actually a major driver for business.
Yeah. Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's now it doesn't cost $30,000 a page anymore.
Right.
But we see it, and so it's not uncommon in some of these really small markets to where we see people buy out of the Yellow Pages. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. These days, though, I mean, you can buy technology, and I'll just dub it as digital door knocking, where you can geofence a neighborhood that's attractive to you, weed out your customers, and literally drop digital content into the browsers through the IP addresses of those chosen homes.
You know what just happened when you said that, right? What just happened is you're going to get 700 emails asking you to tell them exactly what that is.
Look,
there's tons of them, right?
I actually, and I'm an investor in an organization that does that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, wildly successful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's but it's incredible, right?
Oh, it is.
So kind of things are progressing, right? So things progress, and marketing's marketing. It's obviously changed a ton.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're a visionary, right? You're a visionary in this industry. You always have been. I mean, where are we going?
Well, here's where I would love to see us go, is I just think that we have got a very significant opportunity to drive a stake in the ground surrounding public health.
I agree.
When you think about cockroaches and asthmatics, when you think about ticks and Lyme disease, when you think about, there was a report in the news 2 days ago about dengue fever in California, so I mean, I just think that if we, as an industry, coalesce and say we own public health because we're in homes and businesses to the tunes of millions a day, that I would love to see the industry kind of evolve to be the true ambassadors, if you will, of public health.
I would agree. And so we do a lot of business in the sanitation world, and I think you know that. And it's like, like, and sanitation says we lead. And I would argue that pest really should lead, and arguably even wildlife to that matter.
Yeah.
One of the big discussions that we're in all the time as it relates to like the wildlife side is that there's so much misdiagnosis of animal disease out there.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a huge problem. It's a huge problem.
Huge. I mean, think Lyme disease as an example.
Yep.
I mean, how many times, it's probably misdiagnosed more times than it's correctly diagnosed.
Yep.
So, and then you think about rodent control and hantavirus and things of that nature. Yeah, I think we could definitely be the leaders, the tip of the spear of where public health goes as it relates to, pests.
All of it. Yeah. And for those of you guys who are watching this right now, one of the things that I'd like to mention is that one of the reasons that Steve is here today is Steve got me thinking about a passion project that he has where he's actually affiliated with a business where they have developed a product that is actually fighting Lyme disease heavily. And I'd like to give Steve a chance to talk at least a high level about that.
Sure.
I know that you're going to see some other stuff around it, everyone, but like I want Steve to talk about it because when I heard him talk about it the first time, is I realized that for one of the first times in my life that I'm actually hearing a massive health issue being, an attempt to like maybe not solve it forever, but solve it in a big meaningful way. So I'd love you to talk about what you guys are doing too.
Sure. So the platform is called Lyme Shield. It's manufactured by a company called US Biologic out of Memphis, Tennessee. And essentially what it does is it reduces the bacteria that causes Lyme disease. And the way that we do that is we provide an orally delivered vaccine to the white-footed mouse, which is the primary reservoir for Lyme disease. Ticks and mice they both together infect one another in essence. And so the way we do it is we distribute this, it's literally a vaccine-coated dog pellet. The white-footed mouse consumes it. The white-footed mouse becomes inoculated to the bacteria that causes it. Ticks feed on the white-footed mouse, they become inoculated, and it reduces the number of infected ticks in the environment by 75%. So if a mouse can't get it, a tick can't get it. If a tick can't get it, a human and a pet can't get it.
Yeah, when you told me this story about this product, it was probably, like I was saying, it was probably the first time in my career in this industry where I went, wait, we're actually solving something that dramatically impacts people. And then the interesting thing that I thought about it was, of course, building companies, I go, okay, there's a feel good, but then there's the economics component. And in my mind, the very first thing I thought about is like, I felt, and you heard me say this, is I was like, Steve, there's an obligation that we bring this to market, right? And I'm unaffiliated with this product at all, but like I go, there's an obligation that people bring this to market in our industry. And the other side to it is that there's actually like a true recurring revenue component of this. And so from my perspective, being someone who builds companies, but also wants to feel like we're impacting the world, it was probably the first aha moment I ever saw, and you heard me talk about it before.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, so outside the feel good, because this is a good platform to talk about it. I mean, how does it create a recurring revenue component for people?
Well, it works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So, I mean, mice have access to these pellets all the time.
Yeah.
And so the earlier and the more often that you're able to vaccinate these mice, then you're immediately having an impact on the spread of the bacteria that causes the disease.
Yeah. And so a company then could sell it on a monthly basis, quarterly basis, however they want.
Yes,
right?
and it can be bundled with existing service lines.
Yeah.
For example, there are many of these organizations that are ambassadors or evangelists are bundling it with the typical mosquito and ticks
program.
Service. Yeah, it's integrated.
Yeah.
Along with all the other tools that we have at our disposal. And I mean, and I will say though that our industry could improve on our adoption rates of technologies like this.
Yes,
it's almost like I'd like to see someone go before me, and fortunately we have people that are going before a lot of people, and it's starting to spread like wildfire as a platform of choice to, again, have a recurring revenue stream that takes 10 minutes a quarter.
Yeah. You know what it makes me think about? It makes me think about like if you go way, way back in time when someone said, hey, let's put a bait station in the ground for termite.
Exactly.
It makes me think about like the fact that if you remember that discussion and you were like, that doesn't work. And now meanwhile, it's a massive component of the market, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's probably all in, probably $500 million.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I felt like when we were talking about it, like, and I think you call it, is it called the Tickbelt? Is that what you guys call it? Or the
Yeah, well, it's really the Northeast and the Midwest, which is ticks are everywhere. Lyme disease actually has been reported in 50% of all United States counties.
Oh wow.
But the like think Maine down to the Carolinas and across to Illinois and up through Wisconsin, Minnesota. That's really where Lyme is most endemic.
Yeah.
But like not unlike fire ants, it's spreading.
It's very interesting to me. And I mean, I know we've shot some content for you guys around this. So I think we'll help this get in front of the
We
community for
appreciate
you.
it. We really appreciate it.
All right, man. So here's the thing, and I'm sure you've watched some sessions. So now it's your chance. You can ask me anything you want about anything you want. Are you ready?
Oh yeah.
It can be anything you want to know. You ready? Let's do it. Go.
All right. So I love your platform. I love how you're building it. Tell me how you just even came up with this concept. How did you do this?
Yeah. So it's really interesting, right? And now we have 3 companies, which you're aware of, but Pest Daily was a company that I never thought was going to be a company. And so I was in the tech world, and I remember thinking about this. I was like, man, I go, what didn't I have back when I started my business? And I'll tell you what I didn't have is I didn't have anyone that really helped me or guide me. And so we had to figure everything out in our business. And maybe knowing what I know now, could we have went to associations and different things? The answer is yes. But at the time, I think what made us great was the fact that we had no resources. And so we went and built everything. And so years and years down the road, sold the business, built some tech companies, was out of the industry for a long time. And we were just doing some coaching, consulting, really because I just missed the industry.
Yeah.
And I sat back and I was like, man, I go, well, I built a learning platform before in the healthcare sector. And I go, well, what if I do this now? And then I go, well, these are really hard to make money with these. And I was like, well, it's just, I don't care if it doesn't make money, I'm just gonna build it anyway.
Yeah.
And so my entire intent behind it though, was to take an owner operator who may not know where to go for resources and just have a resource so that someday they could potentially experience what I experienced, was getting handed a big check and life changed forever. That was my initial goal. But then I realized how hard it was to build a learning company. And so you'll get a kick out of this. I've never shared this publicly. So in my mind, I said, look, I'm going to invest X dollars. And so it actually costed me 12 times my invest that I thought, and it was a lot of money, 12 times what I thought it was going to cost me to get it to break even.
Wow.
And because I undershot like crazy, and it was a mistake. Now people watching this were like, no, Seth's a dumbass. Actually not. There was some complexities in these businesses that no one understood. And so that was my goal. And so I never thought that Pest Daily was going to be a profit center. I never thought that we would have 1,500 companies using it today. My intent was like, hey, I've got a bunch of coaching clients and like, I'm going to build this thing and hopefully somebody likes it. And frankly, like it's done well.
Well, I mean, congratulations too, because it's
Thank you,
truly
man.
amazing.
Thanks, man. Yeah, like, look, we have the right intent. Like, it's not about and look, in business is about making money. My companies make money. We do great. The reality was this one wasn't. This one was one that was actually designed to be a passion project that has turned into a business. So
That's super.
Yeah. What else, man? Any other crazy ones?
So tell me, where's your most favorite place to go online? Where do you like to go to just kind of like kick back and recharge and like not have to deal with the rigor of the day?
Gosh, what a great question that is. So I would tell you that, and this is going to sound super silly. So you travel a ton, I travel a ton, and you're all over the country, I'm all over the country. And if I had to pick my number one spot where I can just shut down, I'll tell you what I do. I go to Sarasota. I go to a place that I grew up as a kid, and I go hang out near the beach, and I shut my phone off. I did it actually last week. I shut my phone off, don't talk to anybody for 3 or 4 days. And that's what I do. I sit there, I go out at night, like we go do dinners, me and my wife, we go out, whatever. And that's what I do, man. That's super simple. Like go anywhere in the world and like that's where I want to go.
Yeah. All right. How about this one? Tell me the one thing you would do to change the trajectory of your career at this stage of your career.
Wow. What would I do like in today?
Yeah, today. If you said, if something presented you with like an opportunity to transform, what do you think that would be, and how would you go for it?
So just like you, we have all the time there's opportunities, right? And I think in today's world, I have purpose built my companies, right? And I would tell you that if I rewinded 24 months ago, I was super, super satisfied with my business. And I had this aha moment. And what the aha moment was, and this is very interesting. And so my wife sits down with me and she goes, hey, you've got all these people that are part of your team. And she goes, I know that you love this cool little like life, traveling around, doing all this stuff, and you know, you're building all these companies, whatever. And she goes, you have an obligation though. And I was like, what are you talking about? And I'm thinking like, what, and so you don't know my wife, but my wife is a killer. And she goes, you have an obligation. And I go, what's that? She goes, you need to go grow your business. And I go, why? Like, why? Everything's fine. And I go, she's like, because you have a team of people who want futures and have futures. And yes, they love everything you guys do, but the reality is you need to provide more for them. And she goes, the only way you can do that is if you go grow your business.
That's very wise.
And it was very interesting. And so I think that to answer your question is I don't think there's anything today that presents itself that changes my direction. I think that what changed my direction was that conversation coming from my wife. Yep. And I would tell you that people have heard me say this publicly is that today, someone could come and offer me a crazy amount of money and I still wouldn't change what I'm doing. And my vision is that I'm 43 right now, almost 44. I'm gonna work until the day I turn 60 and then I'm gonna stop. And so what that's done is it's given me a perspective that says you have 17 years to impact this industry. And that's honestly what I'm gonna do.
That's awesome.
So
whatever I can do to help you do that, I'd like to do.
Yeah.
So I had a similar deal. I wanted to like walk away at age 55.
Yeah.
I'm turning 64 this year.
Are you?
Yeah. So literally, I left Terminex, a very nice, fulfilling career there. I turned all my stuff in. I went to the beach, thinking about a life of not having to work and stuff like that. I got a call while I was on a beach, and it was a guy who I'd been in contact with at Terminex with an invention that he had improved, and so my retirement lasted all of 3 days. Literally 3 days. But I've been having the time of my life since August 15th of 2015.
That's so cool.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's the True Detect platform that InView just commercialized.
Yeah.
And then also about the same time I got involved with US Biologic, and then I've got a couple of other cool things that I'm still working on, but I'm kind of like you. There's going to be an end, and I hope that end's going to be pretty soon to where I can like totally pick and choose what it is I want to do and where I want to go.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, man.
Yeah.
So, well, listen, I greatly appreciate you doing this.
Well, thank you.
So, it's super kind.
Really
super kind.
I really enjoyed this.
Yeah.
Thank you, Seth.
So what would be one last piece of advice that you're going to give a community of pest control owners?
Keep on keeping on doing what you're doing. Think public health. Think technology adoption. Think like taking good care of your customers, taking really good care of your people, and continuing to provide this industry, which is a great industry with such a benefit to consumers and businesses alike. You guys rock.
Dude, great advice. Guys, thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.